We have some new data suggesting that Bitcoin might be closer to a bottom than anyone thinks. Even though Bitcoin is facing ETF outflows led by BlackRock, macro headwinds caused by the Middle East, and the last couple of days of stock market wipeout due to AI capital rotation, and though we cannot guarantee where the Bitcoin bottom will be exactly, you're going to want to stick around because I've been making the case that I think we are a lot further along in this bear market than everyone is thinking. Everyone's still saying Q4, 4-year cycle. And even though, like I said, there might be a little more pain left in the market, I think, as I've been iterating, this is the best time to be buying. Unless you're sitting there like, I want to capitulate all my fiat at one time, I want to smash buy a lot of Bitcoin, I think now is a good time to start to, continue your dollar cost averaging, your accumulation game, or maybe start deploying some capital back into the market. Not all at once. Let's not get ahead of our skis here. Again, it could go a little lower. I'm hedging my bets here, guys. I'm hedging my bets, but I think the bear market low is going to be in October are overstated. But again, the data I am going to show you is going to show you that there's probably might be a little more pain, okay? But that still, I think, points to what I've been saying, that we are a lot closer to the end than, what's up, 40% through the bear market. I really don't think that that's the case at all. Anyways, I am going to start with the ETF outflows. This was last week. We didn't actually cover this, but last week we saw spot Bitcoin ETFs log a $1.7 billion weekly outflows. Obviously, in terms of how much capital is traded in Bitcoin, it's not that much. Yes, it's a big number, but the numbers we usually get are about somewhere between $30 and $50 billion of trading volume. I am of the opinion that the ETFs are actually buying the Bitcoin. I don't necessarily believe that they are just trading paper Bitcoin per se. From the data I've seen, and I've been saying this for a while, it does look as if the ETFs are actually buying and selling the Bitcoin they claim to have. So that was last week. It's Wednesday. I didn't get to this. So I will update this, and I'm over on SoSoValue. Is it? Yeah, SoSoValue.com. And I have it shown the total weekly net outflows this week so far is 168.81 million. So not huge, obviously not huge, but I want you to keep in mind what I've been saying the last couple of weeks. This is in the context of no one is buying Bitcoin. Remember what I've been saying, or rather what we've been saying, what other Bitcoiners have been saying. All the capital right now is chasing the SpaceX IPO or the, AI hype bubble, as I like to call it. I will touch a little more on the AI stuff because it seems I had triggered people when I talked about AI last week. They're like, you need to understand AI more. I'm like, I get it. Okay. But yeah, I will touch on that kind of conversation at the end of the show. Okay, so first steps first. We are seeing outflows from the ETFs. And one of the things I have been saying, which is obviously since 2024 of January, the institutions entered Bitcoin. And then since then, last year, of course, we got more institutional flows. And then the beginning of this year, we saw even more institutional products being launched by Wall Street. So there is an appetite for Bitcoin. But again, in the last 4 weeks, and I think this does really relate to the AI capital rotation that everyone's been talking about. Again, everyone is chasing either the AI stocks. They're probably bored because Bitcoin hasn't done anything, or they're positioning themselves for the SpaceX IPO. And from what I saw this morning, it's already like 4 times oversubscribed. So about $200 billion in cash over, what they were going to do. So it looks like the IPO is wherever that's the crowded trade right now is the SpaceX IPO. And again, that is on Friday. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens over the weekend, how that stock, performs, whether it's got a huge crash or is everyone just going to chase the hype and it's going to continue to go up basically on its IPO price. Now, of course, the second thing I mentioned, which is the Middle East. Again, who knows what's going on over there? I can't even count how many times we've heard from Trump that a deal is imminent. It seems, though, at this point, the ceasefire is at the most delicate point it has been since the start of this war. And what I saw before the show was it looks like we are going to start bombing Iran again. And of course, by we, I mean the U.S. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some more macro uncertainty heading towards the end of the week. It looks like more bombing campaigns are going on right now. So that's two factors that are obviously working against us. And if you're watching equities, obviously equities and stocks have been pumping. But in the last couple of days, we've seen S&P 500, NASDAQ 100, the Dow Jones, gold, and silver all been red currently. So I'm guessing, again, that most of the capital rotation we are seeing is not just happening in Bitcoin, which is kind of the biggest point that I want to iterate on today's show, is that this isn't a Bitcoin problem that we're seeing. It's almost like what we were saying yesterday. People are just bored with Bitcoin. I think we're bored with Bitcoin. I see it in the chat. Everyone's bored with Bitcoin right now. We all had huge expectations. It hasn't done anything. Again, objectively speaking here, I know I'm a bulltard. I know I'm biased on Bitcoin. And I think it's going to be the world reserve currency at some point. You know, the market cap is going to be in the hundreds of trillions of dollars in the future. $1 million Bitcoin plus. Where we currently stand, the short-term kind of environment is everyone's looking for the new shiny asset or the new shiny stock. Everyone's looking for their gains. And currently it's not in Bitcoin. But that is where the opportunity is for us. I saw a really harsh tweet over the weekend, and it was something like, everyone's complaining about the Bitcoin price, but now everyone that hasn't been able to get to a full coin will have a chance to get to a full coin, and you're still complaining about it. Like, these are the times that what's that Meek Mill song? Like, I always dreamed of times like this. This is where we're at. Yeah, okay. Our savings currently is 50% down, but you're basically getting a 2-for-1 on Bitcoin, okay? So that's the kind of three macro things that we're seeing play out right now. It's really people just are tired and bored of Bitcoin. I've been seeing a lot of headlines saying something similar, that Bitcoin and gold, it was actually on Financial Times by, I forget what the lady's name is, but she's a huge Bitcoin bear. And it was basically saying something on the headlines was something like gold and Bitcoin are no longer the shiny trades. It's just making the case for AI, basically, and SpaceX. We all know what's going on. Again, this isn't just a Bitcoin problem. I think the whole idea of Bitcoin being dead, Wall Street has taken over Bitcoin, or if you're more in the echo chamber, the whole core not BIP 110 argument or quantum fears, I think they're all overblown. Again, we are also obsessed with the nuance and the details and the technicals of Bitcoin that we forget that outside of our space, no one cares about all the internal squabbles. If anything, the only thing I would say that these internal squabbles actually do for a normie or an outside investor to Bitcoin, be like, yo, these Bitcoiners they're idiots. Like, all they do is fight each other, and they're like, it's kind of like that one meme. Wait, how far am I in the show? Okay. It's like that one meme, where the two people are fighting, and then the one guy's like, ripping the bong behind him. And that's literally what we're seeing right now. Bitcoiners are fighting, and then retail or institutional investors are looking behind it, just like, I don't even know what they're fighting about. Like, I'm chasing SpaceX and AI stocks. Again, as I've been making the case on the show, Bitcoin has been the most costly trade currently over the last 12 months. And by that, I mean the opportunity cost currently in the last 12 months, again, hindsight's 2020, but because we didn't buy the AI stocks and we're, Bitcoin idealists here, we have lost out on a lot of dollars. And I know you're looking at me and it's like, oh, Opti's being a fiat maxi. He's just chasing the dollars. Hey, look, bro, with more dollars, I could have bought more Bitcoin. It's a simple equation here. Put your money so that it goes up in value so that you can seek more profits in Bitcoin. Call me a fiat maxi all you want, but look, we're not pumping, okay? So everyone's feeling this frustration. Anyways, I ranted enough about the macro geopolitical kind of landscape. I did say there is some interesting charts, and they're not charts. I'm not TAing here today, okay? I'm going to show you different on-chain metrics to show us, and hopefully, well, actually, I do have one TA chart, okay? All right. Oh, sorry, I caught myself in a lot. I'm going to show you the on-chain metrics to, I think, contextualize where we currently are in this cycle. What is potentially still down the pipeline? How much more pain can we expect? And it's not just going to be, 4-year cycle, 18 months after the halving is all-time high, 500 days after all-time high is when the bottom comes in. We're not doing that. What we are going to show you is just various on-chain metrics, kind of explaining what we can expect going on. This is more of a, what's the saying? The map is not the terrain and the terrain is not the map. This is just kind of an overview of what we're going. I'm not necessarily saying I know exactly when the bottom's going to be. For all I know, we could be doing this all summer. But again, Nico and I were arguing about this yesterday. And I think it was C-Suite on Rumble, where yesterday I was kind of joking and saying, look, I don't think we are 40% through the bear market. I think we're further along through the bear market than that. And I said something yesterday like, hey, we might be in the third quarter here, but we're getting our asses kicked, but we will win the game. We are going to win, all right? So that's kind of the framing I want to lay out for everyone, because I am seeing a lot of conversation here, and I think everyone is feeling this. Like, the sentiment is horrible. And obviously, I think that does come with the fact that the Bitcoin price has been lackluster for the last year and a half. Well, technically, like almost 2 years. We are back to November 2024 prices. Yes, we're not at exactly 2 years, but sentiment's bad. And from people that have been in Bitcoin longer than me, they're like, yo, this feels like 2015. I'm a 2017 Bitcoiner, so I wasn't a part of that era. And personally, I don't know if it's because I work in Bitcoin now. My whole life revolves around Bitcoin. My entire net worth of $100 is in Bitcoin. And so I'm hoping for it to go up. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because I have to do the daily show every single day and I'm just tearing my hair out. The sentiment is super bad. And I've been kind of attributing it to not only just the infighting, but I think a lot of people do have this demoralizing feeling that Wall Street came in and co-opted Bitcoin. That's been a huge conversation over the last year. I usually attribute it to we just haven't had any price pump. Guys, I know you guys, and I'll talk about this in the numbers. I got a good clip kind of to relate to where we are right now. I know everyone always says the Bitcoin price doesn't matter, bro. BS. Bitcoin price matters, okay? I don't care what any of you guys think. Call me a fiat maxi all you want. The Bitcoin price matters. Number go up, has to go up for Bitcoin to achieve all of the freedom go up aspects that we want and that we believe in. Number go up and freedom go up are completely intertwined. So we can't just look at one side of the aisle. And yes, on this show, I could agree with you. I am kind of a number go up maxi. It's because we're trying to Trojan horse the freedom go up aspects of Bitcoin. Everyone comes for the gains in Bitcoin. And as we love to say, then they stay for the revolution. That's just how it goes. All right. So let's not throw out the baby with the water here, whatever the saying is. Dude, I suck so bad at isms like that. Anyways, all right. Here is some interesting stuff. So shouts out to cryptoquant.com. Actually, I have one more that I'm going to pull up. Let me cover this one. And then I actually had one that I wanted to talk about yesterday, which I find very interesting. And actually, I'm going to do this later because I know what I'm going to do. All right. Anyways, I'm thinking in real time. CryptoQuant tweeted this morning. It goes, Bitcoin's correction still lacks a capitulation, which is something Nico has been saying. Okay. We have been saying, look, if I look at the price right now, actually, I was super bullish on Friday. I'm like, no, we're going to be good. And then over the weekend, I'm like, yeah, maybe we do have one last capitulation leg in us because the price, this is a scientific term here for the kids that watch this show. Parents, block their ears right now. Give you a second. The price looks like shit, okay? Hey, let's be honest here. If we're going to talk about price objectively, it looks like ass, all right? That's where we are. Anyways, realized losses reach 187,000 Bitcoin over the last 30 days. It's a lot. Below the 400K Bitcoin panic in February, as you can see here. So maybe that was like I said, this is why I keep thinking that maybe the February 60K bottom was the panic, and kind of what we're seeing in the last week or last couple of weeks is not necessarily a full-blown capitulation, but just capital rotating out, people losing interest, which in itself is a capitulation. I know. Anyways, and the 1.2 million Bitcoin spike after FTX collapsed. Again, I've mentioned this on Monday. This is the worst week since FTX collapsed. I think that statement in and of itself is maybe it's not registering for us because we didn't see anything bad necessarily happen. What did we see? Saylor sold a little bit of coin and then bought back 48 times more of that coin. And that seemed to be the cause of the crash yesterday or last week. Like it makes no sense. And when FTX crashed, like that was devastating for the whole space. Yes, it was caused by a shitcoin casino, but everyone knew like, oh, this is bad. Bad things are going to happen. Bear market's going to be brutal. Like, here we go again. It's the quintessential sign of a brutal bear market coming is a huge event like the FTX crashing and the FTX literally not holding any Bitcoin and all of the rug pulls that happened afterwards. But last week we didn't get anything. Okay, Saylor sold literally 0.0038% of the Bitcoin that he holds and bought a whole bunch more. Like there was nothing that happened last week to really pinpoint and say, yeah, that looks like it should be the second worst week since FTX crashed. But that's what happened. Anyways, going further, historically, major bottoms form after seller exhaustion. The data suggests we're not there yet. So even though I started this show with saying I think we are closer to the end of this bear market, closer to the bottom than everyone else is making it out to be, this point does remain the same. We haven't seen a final historical parallel capitulation moment. But maybe it's because we didn't see a blow off top in 2025. Maybe the sell-off capitulation moment won't be as bad. I'll bring that up in a little bit. Anyways, going further, the big players now are driving Bitcoin towards its final stress tests. If this is true, and this isn't just crypto quant saying this, we're seeing some of the big banks. I think it was Standard Charter said that we're like closer to the bottom. Bottom's almost in. I think a lot of Bitcoiners have been saying for a while, Saylor's been saying crypto spring is here. I think in some respects, it could be us coping. Hey, I'm coping. This is cope, all right? This is simply cope for the next couple of weeks. We're going to put that out. This is BA, Bitcoin Anonymous here. We're just here talking about our addiction to stack Bitcoin, how hopefully it doesn't ruin our lives, how we're trying to make our lives better. Dude, this is a support group. This is like in Fight Club, in the beginning of the movie where, man, why am I blanking on what freaking his name? I forget what his name is. I had Tyler Durden in my head, but the main character where he's just going over to the support groups because he's disillusioned with life and he's like, I don't feel anything. I need to feel something. This is what we're doing. Okay. Anyways, big players are driving Bitcoin toward its final stress test. So if this does hold out, and I know a lot of people are always like, Opti, you guys are always talking about things that potentially will happen, but they don't happen. That's what TA is. This is what it looks like when you are looking for data points to try to wrap your head around where we currently are. So these three readings describe the stress profile of a late-stage bear market, capitulating whales, as you can see here. Binance whale to exchange flow. You see the blue in exchange flow, Bitcoin price, exchange inflow, exchange outflow, or inflow. You can see it's pretty high. All right. Not as high or as high as it's been in about a month or so. So whales selling their Bitcoin, sending Bitcoin to the exchanges, and then distribution into weakness. Realized profits by whales, 2.5 billion in realized losses, and it was really anchored. What was this, like June 4th? No, June, 3rd or 4th. So we're seeing a lot of selling, realized losses, basically. People selling Bitcoin underwater, and a fragile short-term cohort with its finger on the trigger. Bitcoin short-term holders, whale unrealized profit losses. It's fallen off a cliff. It's been pretty brutal. All right. So we're seeing 2 points here. What did I say in the first one? We are seeing a lack of a final capitulation, maybe moving towards a final stress test. They could be talking about the same thing, if we're being honest. But this one is interesting. Bitcoin approaches a historical profitability reset. Percent supply and profit metric falls toward the 45% threshold, and historically, this zone has coincided with periods of heightened market stress. So we are not fully there yet. So all of those things are, what are they basically saying to me? There might be one more capitulation drop. And if we do get that, maybe 58K out there, maybe they're the ones that are going to crash the price. And maybe that's where the highs are, or rather the lows will be, is at 58K. If we do hit a 58K, I've been seeing people say, and I don't necessarily believe, maybe it's just my bias. I don't necessarily, Robert Paulson. No, that's the guy with the boobs, bro. Not Robert Paulson, right? I need to rewatch Fight Club, but I'm pretty sure Robert Paulson's the guy that he hugs. Anyways, I've been seeing a lot of bear charts and a lot of bears basically saying, like, 55 is going to be the low, 44K maybe the low. I could see the price if what the charts are showing us, and we do finally see a final capitulation here. I could see it going to maybe 55, overshooting 58K, but what do I know? It could drop as low as 44. If it does, generational buying opportunity. This is when you buy, all right? But we are seeing, I think, in my opinion, it show the data that I'm looking at, and maybe it's my bias showing. I'm always objective and transparent of my bias that I am a bulltard. I think Bitcoin's going to go up. Anytime it goes down, I deny reality. I believe the experts that confirm my bias here. So the data that I've been seeing, yes, again, as I said, there's a lot of bear calls. Nico sits next to me every single day and has a bear call of 30K, and I'm like, yeah, you're wrong. He was right about the top. I think he's wrong about where the bottom is going to land. But where are we on that cycle? Or rather, what percentage through the bear market are we? Now, obviously, as I keep saying, as I always say, I can't say for sure where the bottom is going to be. Obviously, I have no clue. And of course, anyone claiming without a doubt, anyone guaranteeing you that it's going to be, I don't know, 4-year cycle playing out Q4 of this year, or he knows for sure it's going to 30 or 40K. I've seen a lot of people go like, I've called the last 3 bottoms and this is where it's going. It's like, look, no one knows for sure where it's going to be. And if people are saying that, you should be skeptical. However, what I can say is that if you do have a long-term conviction and a long-term view of the potential of Bitcoin, I think we are going to look back at these prices and see it as a period of opportunity to add to your stack. You're going to look back at this price point and be like, I wish I stacked more. I can confidently tell you that in 2018, 2020, I forget, was it 2022? When every time we've had those deep dips and we finally found some bottoms, pause. I I thought at the moment I was stacking as much as I possibly could. I felt like I was sacrificing. I did everything I could to acquire as much as I could. Obviously, at the time, I wasn't making any money, so it's relative. But in hindsight, I'm always thinking, I'm like, man, you know, I could have gone harder. I could have stacked more. I could have sacrificed a little more to get more. But, you know, I was young. I wanted to enjoy my life a little bit. It's like all fun and no play makes Opti a dull boy. Okay. that's how I view it. But you got to be okay with how you are. I wouldn't beat yourself up per se, but I think we are all missing the opportunity right now. I know a lot of people are saying diminishing returns. You know, I've seen a lot of normies basically say, oh, if I put $1,000 in Bitcoin and Bitcoin only goes to like 200K, like what? I'm only going to get a 1X. Like that's never going to make me rich. And we're like, no one's saying that if you put $1,000 in Bitcoin that you're going to be a multimillionaire. What we are saying is that if you continuously buy $1,000 every week or every month, over time, you will have exponential purchasing power. You will have a savings account. If you treat Bitcoin like a savings account, in reality, all of these price predictions, trading, you know, TA videos really don't mean anything to you. But humans are interesting. Our psychology is the most interesting aspect of this whole thing. Markets are a phenomenon of human psychology. And it's super funny to me that people love Bitcoin at all-time high, and they're absolutely terrified of Bitcoin when it's at a 50% discount. I think Bitcoin is the only thing in the world right now where people don't like to buy it at a discount. If you went to, I don't know, whatever, your favorite store, like, you know, I don't know. I don't know what your favorite store is. Say it's whatever. Say you go to a clothing store. You go to like a Walmart. Let's just do Walmart. Say you go to a Walmart. Last week, or rather 6 months ago, you go in, you buy your essentials, and I would view Bitcoin as an essential. And then now you go in and everything is half off. You might buy two of everything. You're not going to be like, oh, you know, Walmart products are ass. I mean, you might say that, but you're like, I need to go there anyway. But when it comes to Bitcoin, it's at a 50% discount and people don't want to buy it. And yet, when the Bitcoin price starts ripping, they're going to be piling in. You see this playing out with SpaceX. Everyone is chasing the SpaceX IPO. And watch, on Friday, when it goes live, I think everyone is going to pile into it. And it might have an initial, like uptick. And then we're going to see it crater as the, you know, the insiders dump on retail. And I'm going to just, you know, actually, I don't want to laugh because it seems like it's going to get distributed into people's 401ks like right off rip. So it's not funny. All right. We don't laugh. We don't dance. What's the Big Short? You know, you may be right, but just don't effing dance. And that's kind of what I think that's where I'm going to be. I'm going to need Rickers or whatever. I need a mentor to be like, dude, just relax. Don't dance on people's graves. But I think it's going to be very funny to see, or I wouldn't say funny. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with this IPO because there is a lot of liquidity chasing it. And again, it's human psychology. It's so interesting that people look at SpaceX IPO. Whether you love Elon or not, whether you think SpaceX is the most awesome company in the world or a worthless company, whether you think going to Mars is a fundamental addition and a value proposition to humanity or not, people are piling into literally the biggest IPO valuation ever. And we're seeing this in the stock market as well. We're seeing this in AI stocks as well. People are buying the tops like crazy. We just love buying the tops. It doesn't matter what it is. Humans love buying tops. And yet when it crashes, everyone's scared. Everyone gets, you know, flushed out. People panic, sell. It is what it is, okay? That's just kind of how humans work. It's absolutely crazy. But I did say I was going to bring in a little bit of TA, It's not really necessarily TA. It's more, I guess it is a little TA. We're seeing something interesting, okay? The 50-day monthly moving average is a very important number. And what we are seeing is that Bitcoin is getting close there, all right? We almost touched it. Pause. But also, historically, Bitcoin either kisses it or slightly goes below the 50-day moving average. With all that being said, whether it's going to go a little lower like we saw in 2023, it could potentially go under the 50-day moving average, which I think right now, actually, I'll pull up my chart because I had it up there. So the current 50-day moving average is like 59K. So it could potentially go under 59K, okay? And this is why I keep saying everyone's wondering where the bottom is. We could have already seen the bottom at 60K. It could potentially go under 59K. I would say maybe in the low 50s, but kind of range in the 50K area. But what we have seen is either, like we saw in 2019, it'll kiss it and then it bounces up, or maybe we get a short monthly wick under it like we saw in 2015. The exception for these cycles is what happened in 2023, where it actually went under the 50-day moving average. So obviously, 3 data points, one of them was under, 2 of them stayed above. We don't have enough data points to really make a educated opinion on it. We can just kind of speculate. It does seem to me, though, that the bottom is a lot closer than we think it is. Now, going a little further, a similar metric. This was actually on the 4th. So what's that? 6 days ago. Is that Thursday? I think it was Thursday. James Van Straten, again, he is from CoinDesk, and he is basically posting the same numbers. So he goes, Bitcoin is just above 2 biggest support levels, the 200-week moving average, which was at 61K, which we did break down to, and the realized price, which is 53.8K. Hence why I think these are probably the metric or the numbers that we should be eyeing for a potential bottom, not the 40K, not the 30K. But again, what do I know? I don't know. All right. I don't know what's going to happen. But I say all of this to just tell you that I think if you are waiting for a final capitulation moment, the final bottom to go all in, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. Okay, maybe don't go all in right now. But if you start to deploy capital, buying 10% up from the bottom, it's really a good buy. It's still a good opportunity. But going further, of course, in 2015, 2018, and 2022, Bitcoin went straight through the realized price on the first go. This cycle, it stayed above it. So far, hasn't gotten near it. Typically, in the deep part of the bear market, the realized price trends below the 200-week moving average, like in 2020 and 2022. At this point, it's definitely possible Bitcoin can drop below the realized price, but it looks different than 2022. So we have a range here, right? We have a general idea, in my opinion, where the bottom will be. I'm not doing historically speaking, from all-time high, we're going to go down to 80, 90%. I'm not doing that because I personally believe since we didn't get a incredible 2025, I don't think we're going to go as deep as everyone is predicting it will be. I think a lot of people are still viewing Bitcoin with an old view, an old model in their head of how it works. I was wrong about the timing aspect of this. The 4-year cycle, in my mind, still works in terms of time, though it's kind of broken. We had the all-time high before the halving, but whatever. 18 months after the halving, we got an all-time high. It crashed. Now everyone's basically saying Q4 because those are the halving numbers. Those are the 4-year cycle numbers. And it usually goes 80% lower. So that's like, high 40s, low 30s. From the numbers that I'm kind of looking at, again, maybe my bias, I think the bottom, the absolute bottom, is probably closer than we think it is. So maybe I'm moving my timing prediction up a little higher. Maybe we're like 90% through. And you know who I keep thinking of? You guys remember that one video that went viral a while ago? And it was a kid playing football, and he was so optimistic, and he's like, they had us in the first half. I ain't gonna lie. They had us in the first half, but we came back and they won. I think it was like a championship. I forget how to even search for this on YouTube, but it's a great clip. He's like, I ain't gonna lie. They had us in the first half, but the team rallied together. We stayed strong and we came back and won it. That's what I'm referencing right now. Yeah, look, they had us in the first half. They had us in the first half of the Trump presidency, but I think we're going to come back strong. I think we're going to come back strong. I'm betting the SpaceX IPO marks the top of the AI cycle. Honestly, down under blues, I'm of the same opinion. I'll talk about that a little later. But anyways, yeah, keep it simple, stupid. What my theme here is, it's not so much about trying to predict where the bottom is. I just think we are further along in this cycle than most other people. And further, my sub point to it is that I think this is a great buying, a great opportunity to add to your stack. Now, to add one last number in here for you guys, to maybe add a little hopium. It's a Simply Opti show. We started a little early, so I got to add a little hopium in here for you guys. I did see this great tweet kind of giving us some numbers. Shouts out to Michael Tanguma. He is from OnRamp. So we love OnRamp. OnRamp's goated. He goes, the harsher the drawdowns, the stronger the pump. And since 2010, buying Bitcoin 50% below its all-time high returned a median of 124% after 1 year, 414% after 2 years, and 826% after 3 years. 96% of those buys were green within 2 years. Bitcoin is on sale at half off for the 7th time ever. And you can stack now. Everyone's waiting for absolute bottoms. I think they're missing the point. If you buy Bitcoin at 50% off within a year or two, I would say maybe shorter. We'll go with the within a year. You're going to look back at these buys and be like, I was a genius. Thank you, Opti, for convincing me that I need to buy more. You'll come back in a year. Mark it. Someone remind me of this video on June 10th of 2027. Clip it, tag it, do the remind me of this on Twitter. Let's see how this plays out, okay? I think right now at a 50% discount, you're going to look back at this and be like, yeah, it was so obvious. While everyone was waiting for 35K, I just smash bought, accumulated, continued to accumulate throughout the summer. A year later, all those buys are going to be in the green. I think we can all agree on that. Even Nico and I can agree on that. Yeah, we may not necessarily agree on where we're going to be this year, but we all know 2027, 2028, 2029 are going to be great years for all of us here. We're going to be in a totally different mood. It's like, I don't want to say written in stone nor guaranteed, but that's usually how Bitcoin works. And while everyone thinks Bitcoin is dead right now because they're chasing AI stocks, I am more bullish on the fundamentals of Bitcoin than I've ever been. Nothing is really shaking me out. I'm just like bored and demoralized, which is how Wall Street works. They will bore us to death. They're doing a pretty good job so far, okay? Anyways, on this same topic, I saw a really good clip coming from TFTC in regards to the bottoms, but it's more about the psychology of it and what we should be doing right now. So since this is kind of the theme of today's show, that's what I'm going to play. And then also Matt Crater and Saylor going back and forth over the Saylor Bitcoin per share controversy. So I'm going to cover that. And then, like I said in the culture, I am going to kind of talk about the AI hype, the correlations between the S&P 500 now and the dot-com bubble. Now, I sound like I love blockchain, not Bitcoin person when I say this, but I think AI is going to be with us for a while, like the internet was through the dot-com bubble. But if I'm looking at the valuations of these AI stocks and the S&P 500 and just, traditional indexes, I'm like, there's a scary correlation to previous bubbles in the past, and everyone's chasing it. Like, this is how manias happen. This is how hold on, hot take. Everyone calls Bitcoin the tulip mania. But what if the real tulip mania is in the S&P 500, the NASDAQ 100, the Dow Jones? What if the real tulip mania is the Trump mania in the stock market and in AI? I don't know. Anyways, I'll be right back and we will continue this conversation.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin. Here's something most Bitcoin holders never figure out until it's too late. You're sitting on wealth you can't touch without selling. Ledin fixes that. Bitcoin-backed loans. You keep your stack, you get cash. And they just introduced their lowest rates ever. No complexity, no fine print. The larger the loan, the lower the rate. These new rates apply to all new loans, refinances, and renewals. You'll see all the rates up front before you apply. The new, lower rates come with Ledin's gold standard protection. Your Bitcoin remains custodied and is never lent out for interest. Perfect 8-year track record of keeping clients' assets safe. Auto top-ups, LTV alerts, and partial repayments to keep you in control. Repay whenever you want with zero penalties or monthly payments. Ledin's perfect $10 billion track record through every market cycle in the last 8 years speaks for itself. Don't choose between a great rate and the safety of your Bitcoin. Get both at Ledin. If you ever thought, what happens to my Bitcoin if something happens to me? Or what happens if I lose my phone? You're not alone. For a lot of people, the biggest barrier to self-custody isn't buying Bitcoin. It's the fear of making a mistake. And that's why I like Bitkey and I recommend it to my friends and family. Bitkey is a Bitcoin wallet built for real life, not just for day one, but for everything that happens in between. Lost devices, upgrades, accidents, and long-term ownership. There's no seed phrase to write down and worry about losing, and no single point of failure that can lock you out of your Bitcoin forever. What really stands out about Bitkey is the peace of mind. Recovery is built in. Inheritance is built in. It's a complete self-custody system built by the team behind Square and Cash App, designed to make holding your own Bitcoin simpler and safer. Take self-custody of your Bitcoin today using Bitkey. Go to bitkey.world and use promo code SIMPLY for 10% off your new Bitkey. That's bitkey.world, promo code SIMPLY.
Hey, yo, Dan, I'm wearing a hoodie because the AC's blasting because it's so hot outside, okay? Also, the Bitcoin price is making me feel pain. I want to feel comfortable on the show, all right? Can I have a casual Wednesday without you calling me out on it? Sheesh. Anyways, the current Bitcoin price is $62,110. The discount from all-time high is 50.8%. The market cap is 1.24 trillion, dude. That number, I don't know why that number always kills me. Block height, 953,131. Okay, so in the theme of where the bottom is, I saw this good clip from TFTC from Michael Sullivan. And I think, we've been doing some vibe checks on the show recently. And I saw this morning. I'm like, I have to add this to the show because it really, I think, adds value to where I think we currently are in the whole first segment of the show. So let me play that, and I think it's a good mental reframe of where we currently are and what we should be doing. So here it is from TFTC, Michael Sullivan.
I think having continued conviction in Bitcoin right now would be maybe the one thing I'd like to leave people with. Like, it's so easy to get wrapped up in the more human side of stuff and like fall into whatever narrative's out there and fall into the fear that prices are down. But in my opinion, it's just like never been a better time to revisit the reasons you're here. and double down on your conviction again. It's in times like these that really do separate people, right? Like now is the precise time you should be stacking. In the same way that like a James Check has the quartiles, like people are super pissed off right now. And like, rather than that be a reason for you to like get wrapped up in the anger and check out and get bored, like double down. Like now is a great time to buy Bitcoin. I am buying Bitcoin hard right now. Like I don't want to tell people what to do, but like to me, like kind of fading that. And like when you see anger and fear, I know it's like talking so much about negative emotions is not always this positive thing. But in my opinion, the takeaway is like, you should be freaking optimistic right now. Like this is exactly the things you would expect to see during bottoms. Like who knows what the price will do in the short term? I have no freaking clue, but this is your signal right here.
I endorse this message. Couldn't agree more. And while he was doing that, actually, you know, this is the second time I've seen it. It really reminded me of my journey, where in 2017, when I got into Bitcoin, literally had no clue. I had no idea anything about cryptography, about hard money. I could probably barely explain inflation to you. Had no idea what self-custody was. Had no clue of anything going on in Bitcoin or crypto in general. All I saw was number going crazy. Again, I've told this story multiple times. Maybe you guys are bored of this, but for the new people here, it was basically, I heard about Bitcoin for, I don't know, like 5 times. It broke a new record that day. It was just pumping. It broke a new record. All day I heard about Bitcoin. And later in the day, I just finally sat down. I hung out with my cousin. I'm like, yo, have you heard about this Bitcoin stuff? He's like, oh, yeah, I have. I might have some. And I'm like, how? He's like, I don't know, 8 years younger than me or something like that. I'm like, how's my dumb cousin know about it? How does he have some and I don't even know what it is? Anyways, watched a couple Bitcoin videos. The rest is history. But shortly thereafter, I jumped on Twitter probably like a week after my first buy. And on Twitter, there wasn't Bitcoin content. There was crypto shitcoin accounts that are all the big ones. And they did the classic, diversify your Bitcoin, bro. You should hold all these other shitcoins, bro. Bitcoin, you know, Bitcoin's like MySpace. It's old tech, man. And it's funny, you're starting to hear that happen again as the altcoin market is absolutely dying. And what did I do in 2018? I was getting wrecked because I listened to a bunch of people tell me that I should buy other things than Bitcoin, that I should diversify my crypto portfolio, man. Like, you can't just buy Bitcoin. You need to buy these other poo-poo coins. And in that time, the only smart decision I've probably made in the last 10 years is I made a fundamental defining choice, which was I should understand what Bitcoin is. And this is how dumb I was. So I can better trade these other cryptos. Well, you fall down the rabbit hole. You understand what Bitcoin is, and there's no going back. You're like, oh, all that other stuff is garbage. You find all the Bitcoin maxis that we know and love today, like Marty Bent, like Matt Odell, like Pierre Rochard, like Michael Goldstein, Stefan Livera, the GOATs, the guys that I literally wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them doing their podcasts and doing content and shit posting. What, 8 years ago, going on 9, crazy. And this is literally why this show is in existence, full stop, because we all got wrecked in 2017, 2016 by these shitcoin scammers. And we realized there needs to be Bitcoin only content. And when you see stuff like this in the bear market, Michael is 100% right. This is when you go back to, why did you buy Bitcoin in the first place? Why did you first believe in Bitcoin? What was that initial kind of claw that stuck into your mind that was like, oh, this is going to change the world? Was it the 21 million hard cap because you know that they are going to continue to print money because inflation's out of control? Did you guys see the US CPI numbers came in today? It's at 4.2. It's just gradually going up. They got to print money. The money is expanding. Is it the censorship resistance aspect of this? Or as Tone Vase always says, the unconfiscatability of it, that if you hold it correctly, no one can take it from you. Is it the permissionless aspect of it? Maybe you're like me and you went to Charles Schwab to try to invest money and they kicked you out the door because you were too poor. Well, hey, if I knew about Bitcoin back then, I would be in a much better position, but I didn't. And I needed a way to protect my purchasing power. Is it, again, everything divided by 21 million? Do you think that the world has a savings issue? There's nothing to save your money in. Therefore, Bitcoin solves one of the biggest problems in the world. Is it because maybe you believe that, third world countries should be able to use the same first world kind of payment structures, payment rails, that the entire world should be using a better money? Whatever it is that first got you excited about Bitcoin, now is the time to maybe revisit those. Yes, our show isn't necessarily tailored to those conversations because we are a daily news show. But this is when you got a little time to ponder. Maybe, look away from the price charts for a little bit and just reflect and meditate on what it is that really drives your Bitcoin fanaticism. And going a little further, obviously, continue to stack Bitcoin. And I think maybe one of the biggest things that I should have probably been mentioning the last couple of weeks is right now when things are chill, you should probably go back to your custodying of your Bitcoin. How are you securing that Bitcoin? Maybe it's time to update your Bitcoin security. Maybe it's time to actually check in on your coins so that for sure you have it. Maybe it's time to back up your seed phrase. Right now is the time when things are brutal and they're scary and they're kind of quiet. Right now is when you go back to your first principles. Of course, still stacking Bitcoin. Maybe upgrading your Bitcoin wallet infrastructure, architecture, however you want to call it. Maybe it's time to buy. I don't have the new one. I still have the old one. Maybe it's time to get a BitKey. Maybe you want something simpler. Maybe you overcomplicated it the last cycle and you're like, you know what? I can barely get back into my Bitcoin holdings. There's some new Bitcoin wallets. I should update my setup. Like, now is the time to do that. Because when the bull run comes back, we're going to be absolutely losing our minds because we're going into big, big numbers. But now is the time where you remind yourself why you're here. Why are you obsessed with Bitcoin? What is it that you think is going to happen to change the world? Why did you spend all this time hanging out with Simply Bitcoin in the first place? Now is the time to remind yourself that, because look, even some of my friends and some of you guys, my friends in the chat, were like, man, I'm bored. I'm so bored right now. Can something finally happen? Well, now's that time. Anyways, I did mix up the ad, so we're going to do the first ad now, and we're going to cover the kind of, I guess, Saylor controversy that Nico and I were talking about this week. So quick break. We'll be right back. Here's the part that nobody says out loud. Buying Bitcoin on an exchange and leaving it there isn't buying Bitcoin. It's buying an IOU. And the last decade has been a masterclass in what happens when those exchanges don't deliver on their promises.
Bitcoin Well is a self-custody Bitcoin platform. That means that when you buy Bitcoin, it goes straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet. You actually own it from the very first transaction. They're available both in the United States and Canada. Pricing is transparent, straightforward, and no nonsense. And if you're buying a larger amount of Bitcoin, Bitcoin Well Infinite gives you concierge-level support through a dedicated executive Bitcoin advisor, premium help for when it actually matters.
You can also stack a little extra through the referral and wishing well rewards. A nice bonus on top of the owning your own Bitcoin thing. So go to bitcoinwell.com/simply and sign up for the Bitcoin Well portal today and buy Bitcoin you actually own. Paper burns, paper floods, paper fades. If your seed phrase is written on paper, it's not really backed up. It's waiting to disappear. Stampseed's DIY kit lets you hammer your seed words directly into commercial grade titanium. Fireproof, crush-proof, waterproof, and permanent. Once your words are in the metal, they aren't going anywhere. Use code SIMPLY at stampseed.com for 15% off anything in the store. That's stampseed.com, code SIMPLY. Yeah, it's funny. Hey, Rumble chat. Sorry guys, look, Rumble chat. I know you guys yell at me all the time, say I neglect you. I apologize. It's hard to follow all the chats and produce and do everything and talk. Oh, I'm only one man, dude. I'm like that one man band guy with like the drum. He's like kicking the drum and he's like playing the guitar. Dude, I'm a freak show. Sorry, Rumble chat. Sorry. Anyways, you guys, no one cares about me. All right, enough of me complaining. All right, guys. So as we know, and we talked about this week, there is a budding controversy around Saylor. And it is the Bitcoin per share, because it looked like when they bought that 1,500 plus coins that they did in fact dilute MSTR holders. They sold, I think it was like 1.4 million shares of MSTR, or 1.4 plus shares. And everyone was kind of pointing it out. Hey, this is diluted to MicroStrategy MSTR holders. And then yesterday, there was a controversy. And we did have Matt Crater on the show the other day, but he's at the heart of yet another controversy. Yo, Matt, kudos to you, dude. I'm like a boomer here. Dude, I ain't got time to argue with people on Twitter, but hey, to you guys that do, more power to you. So Matt Crater tweeted yesterday, for those who have been listening to orange tie wearing idiots. Yeah, that's actually funny. About MSTR dilution, you should realize that Strategy's own website demonstrates that the capital raise over the weekend was dilutive to MSTR shareholders. See the BTC yield columns and how they moved down from 6.1 to 6.8. Let's see. He didn't really actually show it. I don't know what this screenshot isn't even showing it, but anyways, going further, Saylor does respond, and it goes, Bitcoin yield measures the increase in Bitcoin per share, not total shareholder accretion. Last week, Strategy added 1,550 of Bitcoin and 100 million of USD reserves. When both assets are included, the transaction was accretive to MSTR shareholders. And then it goes further. Wait, where was it? Here we go. Do I do it? Caught. All right, anyway. Hey, don't clip that. Crater go. Yo, cooked. It's the whole core knot stuff. All right, it's whatever. I might be missing something, but you seem to be using a different definition of accretion here than used in your 5/5/26 press release. Quote, the company uses Bitcoin yield to evaluate whether its capital markets activity and Bitcoin acquisition strategy resulted in gross per share accretion or dilution on an assumed diluted shares outstanding basis over an applicable period, and to compare the impact of its strategy across periods. According to your own website, Bitcoin yield went down over the weekend, which suggests that the transaction for dilutive, Bitcoin yield went down over the weekend, which suggests that the transaction for dilutive for, all right, he messed up. Over the weekend, which suggests that the transaction was diluted for MSTR shareholders. What am I missing? And Saylor responds here, and I think this is where the real controversy happened. And it goes, the document you cite clearly states that Bitcoin yield is a narrow KPI used to assess per share accretion solely as it pertains to Bitcoin holdings. It is not a measure of financial performance, valuation, liquidity, ROI, book value, or stockholder return. Full financial analysis requires a more comprehensive review of our financial statements and SEC disclosures. Now, I would actually kind of agree with Saylor here. I think this last statement is really the most important thing overall, kind of as what Nico was saying on the show. I think it was Monday, where he basically said, look, if you are an MSTR stockholder, the only thing you really care is the stock outperforming Bitcoin over time, which it has. But of course, Bitcoin Twitter never ceases to amaze. And of course, the internet never forgets. And we got a lot of people laughing and trolling. It goes from the last earnings call. And it goes, one side is our equity performance, and to our common shareholders, the most important thing is to accrete Bitcoin per share, which results in a higher Bitcoin yield, which ultimately together result in a higher Bitcoin gain. Adding more Bitcoin and Bitcoin gain on a dollar basis is the closest proxy to earnings per share. Those are the three KPIs we like to assess equity performance. On the risk side, the other side of the coin, we have a Bitcoin rating, which is the amount that our debt and our leverage is over collateralized by Bitcoin. We have an MSTR duration, which is the average duration of all our instruments. So I'm not trying to get in the middle of another controversy, but it does look like Saylor's own words are kind of biting himself in the ass. Now, I think to really explain this, it kind of goes back to the whole idea of the credit rating stuff, that it looks like the last couple of moves that Saylor has made is to better his credit rating. And thus, some of the moves do look strange. You know, I think we can all agree, look, I have a 42 IQ. I do not have a rocket scientist IQ like Saylor. I don't even fully understand Saylor's entire financial engineering that he's doing. But from a very, low level view of this, it does look a little wonky. And I think I saw Simon Dixon say this, but he's been going pretty hard on Saylor for a while. And he's not the only one to say this, but I saw a lot of people basically say that it does, in fact, look like Wall Street, or maybe even the U.S. Treasury. Maybe it's Scott Bessent, Big D Bessent out there. Maybe Wall Street is hunting Saylor right now. And some of the moves that he's making is because he is feeling some pressure, and they have slightly deviated from the rhetoric that we've seen Saylor talk about MSTR in the past. And first and foremost, obviously, I would not wish for Saylor to go down. That's not what I'm saying. But I do see the argument that Wall Street is basically hunting Saylor right now because, for whatever reason. One, maybe they don't want Saylor's strategy to work because they don't want people to use Bitcoin. Maybe they don't want Saylor to become one of the richest men in the world, or better put, the richest man in the world. I know that's a long way to go, but if Bitcoin does what we think it will, strategy might be the biggest company in the world. I've heard people speculate that this is, they're gonna liquidate Saylor, and this is how the U.S. is going to build on its strategic Bitcoin reserve, or they'll liquidate Saylor, get him in trouble, and then they will force ownership on Saylor, and then that's how they build on the strategic Bitcoin reserve. Look, I don't know. What is interesting, and I guess a little bit of smoke, is it does seem like the narrative has changed from the last earning calls to what we're seeing him say now. Now, there could be a very simple read of this. And again, it's because now we've seen Saylor go from a few different eras. The initial, 2020 to maybe 2024 was like the Bitcoin prophet, like billionaire coming into Bitcoin, true believer. He does he does all the Saylorisms of, it's going up forever, Laura. What's the Bitcoin is, I always forget this one, like the Cyber Hornets one. What is it? Like, I don't know. Dude, something about truth and the Cyber Hornets buzzing around it. I don't even remember. But anyways, you know what I'm saying? He was the Bitcoin prophet for a little bit. And then we saw kind of the beginning of the Bitcoin products, and he did the whole Bitcoin for corporations plug, where Bitcoin treasury companies went absolutely huge. Now we are seeing maybe I'll talk about this tomorrow as well. Like, we're seeing conversations around what does even digital credit actually mean. Parker Lewis has been on this beat on Twitter for the last week, basically saying like, yo, the Bitcoin treasury, Bitcoin digital credit guys, like, they're gaslighting you. Why don't you just buy Bitcoin? We're seeing now this evolution into this digital credit narrative. And again, one of the things that we did point out in the past is that it seems like every new era of the Saylor story, he is talking to a new audience. maybe that's the simple explanation of this. Again, I don't claim to know what he's thinking. I am not a mind reader. All I'm saying is Bitcoin Twitter is, I think, very clearly pointing out something's changed. Okay. Saylor's Moby Dick. Dude, Saylor's the white whale. Yo, the ephemeral white whale. Someone's gonna try to then who's what's the fisherman's name? Dude, I can't think anymore. I swear, Siri on like autocorrect and just doom scrolling, it's making me dumber, guys. I think I'm at 40 IQ at this point. Who is the fisherman in Moby Dick? Wow. Moab? Is it Moab? I don't know. Whatever. Anyways, I haven't read my great classics, great literature classics in a long time. All right. It doesn't get brought up in everyday conversation. But anyways, let's keep it moving because I think maybe I don't understand AI. Okay. I'll give you that. I'm an AI Luddite. I think it's cool. I am not one of these you're never going to work again because of AI. It's going to do all the things and you're just going to get UBI. I don't think AI is the utopian tech dream that every other person says it will be. I think it's beneficial. I looked this up the other day. I'm like, yo, AI has been a part of my iPhone for I don't know, 16 years. I'm like, we have the most overpriced hype bubble ever for what? A better Siri? Bro, what? Guys, am I the crazy one? All right. Am I the crazy one? But anyways, that's where we are. The markets can stay dumber longer than I can stay solvent. All right. That's just a truism in the market. So we're going to talk about it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm not really going to go into the AI, the technicals of AI. I'm really going to just kind of correlate it with just the broad narrative that we're seeing. So that's what we'll wrap up today's show with.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technologies. Fueled by clean energy across 3 continents, HIVE runs dual engines, Bitcoin mining and AI compute. Their AI platform is ranked #1 in the world for network performance, and it's doing something bigger than compute. It's accelerating human discovery, the science, the breakthroughs, pushing humanity further and faster. Listed on the NASDAQ with the ticker HIVE. Catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech on X or hivedigitaltech.com.
Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, cell towers can fail. Hurricanes, cyber attacks, blackouts, most people go dark. Satellite phones don't rely on local infrastructure. With Iridium, 77 satellites in orbit, you can stay connected across the U.S., even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123 also has Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags for your hardware wallets, and everything you need to build your own off-grid Bitcoin citadel. Go to sat123.com/simply and use promo code simply for 15% off anything in the store. Okay, guys. I think we might have just got the bottom signal we needed. Inverse Kramer. Thank you. Thank you to all the gods out there. I believe in the monotheistic God, but if you believe in the many gods, shouts out to the Bitcoin gods out there. Because it looks, dude, Kramer's been going hard on Bitcoin. Man, can the inverse Kramer finally save us? So we saw this morning. Jim Cramer, the infamous Jim Cramer. He goes, Bitcoin and gold, bad money, being liquidated for SpaceX. Apple and Nvidia, good money, being liquidated. All right. Wait, hold on. My timing was off. My delivery was off. Okay. Bitcoin and gold, bad money being liquidated for SpaceX. Apple and Nvidia, good money being liquidated. Dude, I didn't know Apple and Nvidia was good money. I didn't know they were money. But wow, dude, light bulb. Just goes to show that a lot of these investors, these stockholders, these boomers out here, they're just viewing their equities, their stocks as money because they know the money's broken. Look, it's funny that the only hard money in this conversation, Bitcoin and gold, is bad money. When this is a upside down world. This is 1984 world where good is bad and bad is good. But there is a point here where he is kind of right. We have been covering for a while that there is a real capital rotation going into SpaceX. Everyone is watching the SpaceX IPO. That's like the hottest thing going on right now. And I tried to find, did Steven delete this? Because Steven Lepka tweeted, I believe it was this morning. Let me see. Is it this one? Oh, he did delete it, bro. Yo, you deleted it, man. Anyways, the tweet was something like, the SpaceX IPO is 4 times oversubscribed. That's about $200 billion. But I do have this tweet too, I guess, maybe show you what I mean. And I'm not going to play it, but shouts out to Peter St. Ange on Twitter. I love his stuff. He makes good videos. I saw it the other day. Let me see if I can find it real quick for you. But he was explaining just how overvalued this SpaceX IPO is. All right, here we go. And it goes, SpaceX goes public in 3 days at a $1.8 trillion valuation and 100 times sale. It's the most expensive IPO in history. But remember, Elon is the only man alive who's built $2 trillion companies, 3 counting OpenAI. And SpaceX will be at the center of every frontier technology. Look, Elon is growing on me. This is not a knock on Elon. This is more a conversation of one. I mean, I think partially the reason it is the most overvalued IPA, or I won't even say overvalued, the highest valuation for an IPA ever by, a lot, is because the money is broken. It's inflating, so everything's just getting more and more expensive, more and more expensive. And I always think of this, I grew up, someone burst in the door in the studio, scared me. I grew up a NFL fan, and if you look at the contracts now, they're freaking insane, right? That's like $150 million for 3 years. It's like, are the players getting that much better? No, it's just the money's getting worse. And so to kind of contain, or rather have a relative value of what they used to be paid, and, pay the gladiators enough money so that they're willing to go in there and hurt themselves. Their contracts just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We see this in everything. Go to the grocery store, your ribeyes are getting more expensive. Everything's just getting more expensive, and it's going to continue to get more expensive, okay? Everything's going to continue to get more expensive because they got to print money. They have to continue to inject capital into the system or it blows up. I think that's partially why we are seeing this overvaluation in AI, or rather, sorry, in SpaceX. Now, yes, Elon Musk is able to build trillion-dollar companies. If the world isn't flat, rockets are awesome. If the chopstick catching rocket wasn't CGI, absolutely awesome. God, I don't actually believe in flat Earth. I just think it's kind of funny. I am a globetard. You guys know I'm a globetard. But I like to I like to troll a little bit. So anyways, yeah, I think it should be a big IPO. Obviously, it's going to be huge. And then with the talks of it merging with with Tesla, it's going to be huge. Okay. Again, like I've been saying, one of the biggest Bitcoin treasury companies. He's doing cool stuff. The fully self-driving is absolutely awesome. Teslas are kind of cool. Even though Jack Cruz tells me that I'm frying my brain when I drive in one, they're kind of fun cars. Okay. All right. Rockets are cool. The satellites and Starlinks and all that stuff. Like, dude, Elon's He's kind of like Tony Stark, all right? He's kind of like Tony Stark. What I think is going on, well, also, maybe I'm just butthurt because a lot of capital is rotating out of Bitcoin into these IPOs. I'm like, bro, you're supposed to be laughing. Anyways, what I am also watching is the S&P 500. And I've been making the case for it being pretty high, like probably relatively speaking higher than the .com bubble. And I'm personally of the opinion that I think there is a lot of hype in the AI stuff. Again, I haven't obsessed about AI like some of my friends have. Like, you guys know, one of my best friends is always telling me, it's like, dude, AGI is here, bro. AI is taking over the world. And all he can send me is like cool AI pictures. You know? Look, I use ChatGPT. I use Grok. We use Claude. But it's also, I kind of just think of it as like a glorified search engine. It's a if this, then that. Like, I don't think there's real thought behind this, okay? I just think it's a predictive model. Literally, by its definition, it just predicts what sounds good. It doesn't actually know what's going on. But what do I know? I'm not a part of the AI stuff, and I know AI conferences keep saying like, oh, it's way farther than we can even imagine. You know, AGI is coming in 5 years, 3 years. Look, I'd be kind of down for Jarvis to be a thing, you know? Though, I've seen Space Odyssey 2001. I know how this ends. I'm a little hesitant on that, okay? But I do think that there is a hype cycle going on with AI. And I think the evaluations we are seeing in AI, in the stocks and everything, it's probably overvalued. It seems like everyone's chasing AI. It's the hot thing in the room right now. It's taken away all the hot air from Bitcoin. Bitcoin is, you know, it's like the Toy Story, you know, throw Woody in the trash can because they got Buzz Lightyear. Dude, we're Woody right here. Pause. Dude, I'm such a millennial. That's crazy. Everyone's just playing with their Buzz Lightyear right now, dog. And Woody's over here ignored. He's in the trash. It's like, I am done with you now, chasing the gains in AI. But what we're also seeing is S&P 500 is at valuations all-time. Literally, it's broken, what? I don't know, 12 all-time highs in the last, like, year? It's crazy. Like, I think this year it broke, like, 10 all-time highs. It's just going to new all-time highs and new all-time highs and new all-time highs, and everyone just thinks, like, oh, I'm getting richer. Like, I am getting more money. I'm getting richer. Maybe it's just because I'm a Bitcoiner and Austrian, you know, economist light. It's like, no, dude, your denominator is getting worse. That's why assets and commodities and real estate are going up. It just hasn't hit Bitcoin yet. But there has been a lot of correlations to the S&P 500 where it is now and the .com crash. And it is scarily similar. Like, it's kind of eerie. Now, it's chart crime. You know, I'll be honest with you. Like, yes, it is chart crimes out there. But if there is a semblance of truth to it, it's kind of scary. And I don't know if you guys saw, but I think it was the BLS. Let me see if I can find it. Basically, some big reporter reporting this week. Oh, it was Moody's top economists this week said the U.S. economy is on the precipice of a recession. I would argue we've been in a recession for a long time. And going further, there was another number that came out this week that is pretty crazy. It was, oh man, it had something to do with inflation, I think. Like the economic reports we're hearing. Yep, here it is. Inflation is officially rising faster than wages. CPI numbers, which we know are manipulated, just came in at 4.2 last month with 3.6. It literally almost looks like we are starting to watch a global hyperinflationary scenario play out right in front of us, but it's moving like a slow motion train. I think a lot of the AI hype speculation is people realizing maybe unconsciously or subconsciously that, yeah, you need to find something to save in. I think they're in the wrong thing, but hey, you know, you do what you want with your money. And like I said, markets can be irrational far longer than you can stay solvent. But as we've seen, and remember my favorite Trump quote, he keeps coming out and saying like the entire world's a casino. Just look at people's actions. Literally, you can gamble on literally anything on the prediction markets. You know, everything is just a gamble. Everyone has now been turned into a speculator because there is no escape out of this if you do not toss a Hail Mary. If you do not, you know, lie, steal, cheat, and gamble your way out of this scenario, and you're denominating in dollars, like you're cooked, it's over. I think everyone's starting to feel that existential crisis, and us Bitcoiners, yeah, we're feeling the pain of the dollar or the price of Bitcoin in dollars, but we're kind of chilling. We're like, we know it's going to go up. We know it's going to go up. All right. AI bubble is an IQ test. In what way, Dan? In what way? If you think it's a bubble, you have low IQ, or if you don't think it's a bubble, you're a midwit. Wait. Yeah. That's the one. Okay, I think you agree with me. Normies think we're going to build AI data centers on the moon with Elon rockets. Yo, did you guys see? I guess Elon's with Starlink, he is sending a satellite just for AI, and everyone's like, "Yo, this is genius." I'm like, okay, cool. What? Oh, it's a bubble, bro. Yeah, dude. All right. Actually, before I go, YouTube and Rumble chat, do 1 in the chat if you think AI is a bubble. 2 if you, I don't know, are pro AI, I guess. And then I will wrap up today's show. Let me just check. Let me get Rumble some chats. Let's see what you guys are saying here. Wait, do me and JJ agree on AI being a bubble? That'd be crazy. JJ, tell me in the chat. Are you AI is a bubble guy? 5? Oh, everyone's doing 5 in Rumble. Funny. Okay, funny. I think me and JJ are in agreement. It's a bubble. 1.5. Yeah, maybe I'm closer to 1.5. I don't know. All right, well, it looks like the chat and me are in agreement. Look, I saw someone call me an idiot. No, actually, they didn't call me an idiot. They were like, man, Opti, I respect how well you understand Bitcoin and what you do on the show, but you really need to understand AI more. And I'm like, bro, like, it's a bubble. Get over it. No, I don't mean to throw shade. I don't mean to talk smack. Claude said 1. Nice. Grok says 3. Nice. Oh, you're too oh, shucks. Oh, shucks. Thank you, Bitcoin believer. Everything by definition is a bubble when the fiat money is crashing. I agree with this. Bubbles are fun. Remember, Bitcoin is a Ponzi for the people. Joe, okay. All right. I'm vindicated. I guess me and JJ are of different opinions. Dude, you're just a contrarian to everything I said. He said AI is not a bubble. So not only does JJ think AI is not a bubble, but he's the reigning cash maxi in Rumble. I will give you your props. You did call 115K Bitcoin as a good place to offload so you can buy lower. I'll give you that. But yeah, JJ's not a contrarian. All right, guys. Anyways, That's all I got for you guys today, all right? Though, as you can see, I am alone for the rest of the week. Pray for me. Pray that I don't lose my mind. All right? Simply Opti coming the rest of the week. We will... AI is the hubba bubba bubble. All right. All right, guys. Catch you tomorrow. Stack some sats. Secure your Bitcoin. Eat some good food. Call your loved ones. Get some sun. Get a workout in. All that good stuff. I'll catch you tomorrow. Peace out.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.